let's say 4 years from now, AOC takes the office. Totally just out of the blue saying it. Texan is going to be not on the same page with the current office, and we get back to the talks of Texas seceding. I believe Texas is in a very special position for that, given its geographical location, having a surplus in the budget, and given that it has not always been a state. So, like, how probable this not how probable, let's even say, if we ever get there, how would Texas seceding look like? What would it cost in terms of civil unrest in a country overall? And even, like, actually, is it possible?
Yeah. So, well, what I would say is, for a quick, like, maybe we could do like a quick history lesson on just the history of Texas being in the United States. So Texas, I believe the year that Texas joined the United States was 1846. Texas fought for and won its independence in 1836, so 10 years prior. And one of the key figures in that fight for independence and in the period when Texas was independent was Sam Houston. So Sam Houston was a disciple of Andrew Jackson, who was a former president of the United States. He was also a senator from Tennessee, potentially the governor of Tennessee, and I believe a general in the U.S. Army. So, like, a lot of history with the U.S. And he was the general of the Texas Army when it was fighting for its independence, and then ultimately winning its independence. He was a big proponent of Texas joining the United States. And there was a treaty between the United States and Mexico that preceded Texas joining the United States, that Texas would never be admitted to the United States. And then, and it was interesting because one reading of history is because Sam Houston was always somebody that was supportive of Texas joining the United States. He has this famous quote that was, Texas doesn't need the United States needs Texas. But he was still a big proponent of Texas being part of the Union. And a big part of the resistance in Washington of admitting Texas was because it was known all along that Sam Houston was a big proponent of it, that, you know, with this treaty between Texas and Mexico, like, was this always the plan, and would this lead to war? Ultimately, there would be a Spanish-American War, or Mexican-American War. But then, so Sam Houston was the general of the Army when they won independence. He was the first president of Texas. And then there was a second president of Texas, and then I think Sam Houston was president again. But it was actually, you know, one reading of history is this guy Maribel Lamar, who was the other president of Texas when Texas was independent, was that he started talking about Texas going west and basically annexing the western part of the United States. And again, it's just one reading of history, was that it was actually that manifest destiny that convinced Washington to say, oh, well, we can't have, you know, a superpower on our border. We need to annex Texas. And that was what actually spurred the annexation of Texas. And then fast forward to the Civil War, Sam Houston was very against secession in general, but also against, and he was governor of Texas, I believe, at the time. Or at least he then had been governor of Texas after Texas had joined the Union. And his principal argument for being against secession was that there was a remedy in the Constitution, that Texas should challenge it at the Supreme Court, and if what the Union was doing was unconstitutional, that there was a path to that. And so, in general, I'll talk. So I wanted to have that setting to. In general, my perspective is like people should, read into and rely heavily on what the founders thought was important, because they were the ones that were actually there and fighting, and that they might know better than us. And so one of the ideas that runs through my head is Sam Houston thought very strongly that Texas should not secede, and that it was important for Texas to be a part of the Union, and that there was a value in that Union, that should be the default strong position until something categorically changes. Second thing is, it's like Texas does have this position of strength within the Union for reasons beyond just politics, but because of its assets, and because of its borders, and because of trade, that there's a lot of power that can be wielded, in negotiation. And then the third thing is, I think that this would apply to any state that wanted to secede. That never happens peacefully.
Yeah.
The communists that want to force their fair and just rules on non-communists never let the people that just want to live their own way to go in peace.
Yeah.
And so I think that's just a reality as well.